Okay, perfect. So hello, my name is Sofia, and I work as AI engineer at Yellow Systems. And as I work as AI engineer, of course, today topics will be about AI. So over time, AI topics are extremely hyped. Like everybody talks about it, everybody shows demos, everybody says that they have AI integrated in their products. But when you ask them like what exactly artificial intelligence does in your project, like there is a silence, so nobody knows, just because they don't know what exactly AI improving. So as I think it is a quite like big problem, just because adding like AI to the name of product is not enough to say that AI improving some processes in your product. So AI can do like a lot of really critical things that can like help you. And sometimes it's not something like new, something unusual, unique. It's like very basic and boring things that maybe like we forgot about them, but they're very important. So maybe like you use it already in your like operations, internal processes or for customer use, maybe not. So let's talk today about large language models without buzzwords. So we will go through real use cases where AI speeds up the process, replace routine work, and brings something new to a product. So first of all, maybe we need to add like some context before like we will go to the examples. So what I see when observing like some new startups or some pitch projects demos, that companies start with the model instead of the problem. So it's real popular right now like to use AI in our systems, even if it is not like obligatory for your project, just because like some project doesn't need to do it. And like it is a problem that we define the AI communication in our project, but we don't know how it works inside, where it is used, and what exactly it does. And because of this fact, like we can build a chatbot for 3 months that nobody will use, and it is a problem. Like it is a question why like nobody uses this chatbot, even like you've spent a lot of time on it, you waste like a lot of like developers, yes, on it. So it's a question not about the model quality, just because right now, like our modern model has a really high capability, and they can do like a lot of different stuffs from text like character recognition to like reels making, for example. So it's not because the model is bad. It is because the business requirements, like not business, like in general requirements, are defined not in a good way. So before we start working on our project, we need to answer 3 questions. So the first one, who is the user? This question can answer like can give us a lot of answer on different questions. For example, what is the scale of the project? So how many people should use this model? What is the desired outcomes that we want to see when the model generates its answer, and so on. The second one. Okay, the second one is what exactly business does. So this question answers us on question what info should be used to, for example, train the model, or how the output structure should look like. So what we want to see, yes, from our business. So what is the scale also again? And the third one, how we can understand that our products working okay. So it's not only about like artificial intelligence, it's like I think it is connected to all like part of the project. But if you're talking about AI, of course, we have some metrics that we can define at the beginning of our project. And this metrics like depends on the project you have, on the user you want like to give your product, and like some other things that are defined at the beginning. So today, like we will go also through these questions. So there is on my slide, like you can see the common failure pattern before start working on projects. So as I said, right now, like it is really hard to use AI in like modern products and projects. And when we are talking about it, we first are talking about technology first pilots. So it means that it doesn't mean like what exactly will be done. It is important that, like, for example, OpenAI API will be used in our model. Of course, it's not the correct way to like understand, to integrate the model in your project. So first of all, we need to start from the task. So no baseline API. as I said, we need to have some metrics. No workflow owner. So there is no, for example, team of developers, or there is no a product owner that defines this workflow, how it should look like. So of course we need to have it. And demo works, process does not. So for example, we can build a simple MVP for demo, or just a simple MVP for small amounts of people and give it like to big masses, and of course it cannot work in just because of, for example, of the scale. So we need to define it at the beginning. So what LLMs are actually good at the business? So exactly like in this presentation, we will talk more about large language models, but of course there are like plenty of different models you can use. So for example, like computer vision, we can use character detection, we can use sound generation, and so on. So like today we will talk more about LLM. But of course, like depends on your business, you can use different models. For example, voice generation for calls, computer vision for like capture resolving, for example, and OCR for detecting prices from your document. So yeah, but also it doesn't mean that you need like to use all of this stuff in your project. Like it depends on the project you have. So LLM are extremely good at text processing. So there is something like natural language processing. And there are like on the screen, you can see like 6 different options how we can use it. So honestly, I think like it's not 6, even less, just because some of these options are connected between each other and you cannot use it without like the second one without the first one. So let's go. We have read option. So what we can read? We can read everything. We can read web pages. We can read books. We can read some like random PDFs. We can read, for example, call transcripts. And why it's like very nice. First of all, because on this information we can, first of all, we can retrieve some information from this that we read, and also we can generate some answers based on this information. So I think like this option read is never used without like other options that are mentioned here, just because just like reading is not so interesting as, for example, generating answers, but like we can read it. The second one is transformation, and as I think it's more like for internal use, for example, for development, just because it's like more option to like between like different steps, for example, to move from the first step to the second step with some output. So what we can transform, we can have, for example, 50 pages of some PDF. We can have, I don't know, like 3,000 words in phone transcript. And of course, we don't want to store all this info, for example, in database. So we can structure it, for example, in JSON or in graph data, and store this info like in some structured way. So the third one is draft. So I think like draft is common use, of course, with read. So draft can be used without read, but read can be used without draft. So what we can draft? We can draft replies. If, for example, we go to Jira, right now there is an option. It's like a new update on Jira that if you want to write some like description to Jira or the comments, it like give you a hint what you can write. We can draft summaries. So, for example, if we take the first option, read, we can like put the big amount of information and ask model to summarize it in like small format or in other languages or just like in more readable format. Also, we can draft proposals. So I use this option when I applied like for project in the past. So like we have like a lot of different possibilities of jobs, and like every job has different stacks of technologies. And of course, like manually, it can be like hard to write, for example, like 20 proposals per day. So it is like very convenient to use some templates generated with AI. Let's go to the first one, classify. So classify is also something more that is used like inside of like some processes. So I don't think that it's like for common customer use. So what we can classify? We can classify like a lot of different things. So here I have, for example, intent, urgency, topic, and risk. So it's not the full list of what we can classify. For example, we can classify the user intent. So it means that based on what user asks, we can go, for example, different branches. If we have a graph of decision-making tree, based on this intent, we can go to like different branches. We can classify urgency. So, for example, on Jira, we have like the priority of the task. And we have like highest priority, high, medium, and low priority. And based on this priority, like we can provide more info about the task, and we can provide more info to the user. So also we can classify topic and risk. And I think like more interesting example of this classification is our social media. For example, we have classification on Instagram. We have like there is a ranking for creating the algorithm on Instagram. So for example, if Instagram classifies that you like to observe video with kittens, it will provide you more content about kittens. So it's also classifications, or there are like plenty of different classes inside like of this, for example, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify also. They provide you more info. Let's go to the fifth one. We have the comparison option. So like the simplest, as for me, like the simplest example is GitHub. So right now, like we have a lot of smart helpers to make like generating code much more faster. And also we can do much more faster code review. And this comparison like works like really good there, just because we can see like the Git difference in the code between the actual branch you're working on right now and the base branch. And based on this comparison, we will like make a code review. Of course, like it's used not only on GitHub. I think like there are a lot of different services that where like you write some text, it also shows you the difference that you make. And all of this stuff is based on natural language processing. And the last option is explain. So we can explain some data, we can explain some decisions, we can explain next steps. For example, if we are working with I don't know, with, for example, ChatGPT in thinking mode, we can see that before it generates the answer, so like it takes some time to generate it, you can see like the steps, how it think like inside. For example, let's go to like web pages, let's scrap it, let's parse the information, and so on. So it's user explanation inside. And like it is very useful if you want like to see how it's working inside, and also like you can ask manually to do it. So we talked with you like what are the option like of using large language models, but how exactly like we can use like these options. So I took here like the most, I think, like popular items what we can like do with large language models right now. It is a customer support, internal operations, sales and marketing, and product and engineering. So let's go to the first use case, customer support at higher speed and lower cost. So here, like you see how we can start it from the beginning. So we have incoming ticket, for example, email, chat, form. It also can be the transcription from phone. After we have classification of intent, urgency, and sentiment. After this, we have the branch like knowledge match. It is also a very good opportunity of using natural language model if we are talking about generation of the text, just because we can generate some information not only based on info that model has, but also on your custom documents, for example. So based on these documents, we create like a knowledge base, we vectorize it, and natural language processing work with these vectors, and it can retrieve some necessary data for you. So it can be policy, some documentations internal or not internal. It can be the information about the product. And based on this information, so it's like based on knowledge documents that we retrieved. It based on the chat history that user already had, and also, of course, based on user request. So what we can measure here. So here, like at the left bottom, we will have like all metrics that we can calculate there. So first of all, first response time. So we need to calculate like the time response before we integrated AI into our chatbot. So when human answers the question, and also we can calculate the time after we integrated the AI, and so how it like speed up the working, the generation of the answer. Cost per ticket. Of course, we want to make our like chatbot as cheaper as possible. So here, like there are like a lot of different calculations how we can calculate it. So for example, even if we have like $1 per one ticket and we have 100 tickets per day, so it means that we have like 3,000 tickets per month, and like it's very small traffic. So we will have like $3,000 for resolving these tickets. It's like it's a big amount for small business. Deflection rate. So what does it mean, deflection rate? It's the rate of answers that's like of tickets that are closed by AI agent and the tickets that are closed by human. And of course, we want to make this deflection as high as possible. It means that we want our model to answer in correct way as high as possible. And the last one, we have customer satisfaction. So it can be like thumbs up, thumbs down, it can be some reports, and quality score. So based on this information, we can like improve our knowledge base, for example, if we have to, for example, edit the system prompt or to change like the model. So there is an implementation note. Start with AI drafts and human approves. So I think like I met a lot of system right now. Like I think like the biggest amount of the system work right now is the way that we have like 2 levels of customer support. The first one is AI agent. So it answer you like not very natural way. So I don't like honestly how it works like now in modern systems. And the second one, if the AI generated the answer not satisfied, the human will like contact with you and try to answer your question better. So I think like this system of like self-improvement, it means it's like we start with AI drafts, human approves, can much more better like improve the process of working, just because based on human feedback, we can build the knowledge base, and this knowledge base will be like very custom, especially to your business. And like the AI agent in the future can replace the human. Okay, let's go to the second use case. So internal operations without manual busy work. I think like it is the most interesting one, and just because like we're always talking more about customers, but we're not talking about like workers that are working on business inside. So there are like different options that we can use. My favorite one is meeting to actions. So I don't know, I think like even now, when we have like meeting in Google, there is an option to add a Google tool, or it is already add that makes the summary of meeting. So for example, right now we will have like our meeting for 1 hour. And of course, it's hard to like keep in mind all information that right now will be in the presentation. But after the meetings will end, it will be a short summary what exactly was mentioned, what was discussed, who, for example, asked a question from me, and so on. It is like very useful if you have, for example, like 5 dailies per week, and you need like to remember all information. It's a very convenient option. Document review. What we can review? We can review contracts, policies, vendor docs, and all of this stuff are summarized and compared. So it just like, for example, for internal documentation can be used. Reporting. Raw updates become weekly business summaries and exception alerts. So it means that if you have, for example, chat, you can also build in the internal tool that will summary all interactions that you have. It is also sometimes very useful. And also I saw something like when you tap in the chat that you want to put the meeting in your calendar, for example, on Friday next week at 5 p.m., it can put the meeting to your calendar. Very useful that you don't need like to go to every service that you need. Internal search. Employees ask questions across doc, policies, and past decisions. So it's some kind of customer support, but not for customers, but for workers. It is also very convenient if you have a big base of code, for example, and you can do just the automatic reports of this code and something like else. So the third use case. So I think it's kind of provocative. So it's about sales and marketing acceleration. So here I'm not talking about generating the like some creative content. So if you want to generate with AI something state of the art, for example, like article, research, and so on, I'm not sure that LLM will do it in a good way, just because it's like always generates the text that it was trained on. So it can has like researches like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and so on. And like for this model, it will be hard to generate something like very creative. But it can be used for some routine work, for generating like some simples, or some simple, for example, like description of the product. So what we can have here, we have input, CRM nodes, like it can be HubSpot, it can be Salesforce, it can be Bittrex. So we take all nodes from this CRM about users, about products. We can have call transcripts, for example, in HubSpot, and also we can have website data. After this, the synthesis or AI goes. So from this data, we can collect like pain points. For example, we can collect pain points like from customer user experience, objections, and next best message. After this, we go to outputs. So based on all this info that was, like we can create personalized email. So it's like the example that we have like some meetings with this person. We know some info about it, and based on this info, we can make a proposal for him. Very useful. Proposal draft. It was I mentioned, and follow up sequence. So best first automations. What we can talk about: proposal first drafts. So how it looks like, we can assess if people like already read it, if they answer it, and so on. Account research summaries we can use for personalized follow-up emails, as I mentioned, and for content repurposing by segment. So there is a key guardrail that we need to remember about. So we need to protect brand voice and factual claims with review, approved source, and templates, because not like there is no any model that gives you the guarantee of having no hallucinations, and we need to follow like every time to monitor how it generates the answer. Just do not have like some fake information. The first use case, new revenue from AI-powered products features. So the biggest upside is not only cost reduction. LLMs can become part of product experience. So, for example, we can have private copilot, premium copilot. I think like right now, every developer uses the code helper during their work. For example, Cloud CLI, Cursor CLI, Codex, and like it simplifies the work. But of course, like you need to check what is generating. So it is a paid assistant that helps users complete complex tasks faster. So it's not only generates the code, but also it can make the code review. Personalized insights. So AI turns user behavior or business data into recommendations. So for example, as I mentioned, we can have like Instagram algorithm. We can have Spotify that based on what contacts you like had before, it will make you some new recommendations. So inside of these recommendations are built ranking systems. It's like just enough hard like systems inside that classify all info that you have. So it can be like 100 different classes that you can classify, and based on this info, it predicts the class that you can like. Smart search. User ask natural language questions across product data and content. So I remember like the times when if you wanted to like find something on Google, for example, you needed to write very strict request. So you couldn't write something like in free format. It should be like something very concrete. So right now, the smart search is like really widely spread and used. So in Google we have it. You can write like not in strict format. It can be like very long question, and the natural processing will format this question in the format that Google can return you like find the information for you and return the necessary one. And like it is right now very useful. It works very fast, and you can find your info that you want. Workflow automation. So the product completes repetitive customer task on demand. So it's like there is an example of HR screening. Right now, I think like every company uses inside like their operations something like AI like AI checking of CVs. So it is the first level of checking your CV. So if like AI will reject your CV, it won't go to real human. So right now there are plenty of life hacks how to make your CV readable for AI, just because it can be like rejected at the beginning. So how to choose the first LLM workflow? So what I mentioned, it's quite like there are easy tasks and there are like medium and hard tasks. And if we are talking about the beginning of building some project, like what you need to keep in mind before you start working on it, I think like I'm pretty sure that you need to start always with the easiest things that will be done in the fastest way and like you know how to do them. Just because if we will start from the hard one, for example, very like complexity decision making trees or ranking system, first of all you don't know how many time it will take you to generate. Also you don't know like what technology to use to build this system, and because of this fact, like you can waste a lot of time working on it and you will not have any like successful results. So if you start with like low risk automations, it can be like for example tickets moving in Jira, like something like this. First of all, you know in advance that like this task is fast to implement, and on this easy task you can like know some new technologies. So some new technologies that can be used like in hard systems, but for learning it's much better to learn them like in simple examples. The implementation pattern. So augment, automate, and productize. So the first stage when we are working on AI, it's very nice to add a human feedback. So for example, it can be the customer support, it can be also the ranking system if it's possible. So what does it mean? It means that like AI creates a draft of the answer it wants to provide, and human can like assess if this answer is okay or is it not okay. If it is okay, it is added to knowledge base with labels that this answer generated correctly, and this answer will go to customer. If it's not, like human adds the review why it's generated not a good way. And in knowledge base, it also will be a label that this answer generated wrongly and why it generated wrongly. So next time the AI agent will know, will not generate the same answer. Automate. So when we have the system like works okay, and in some moments we understand that right now the deflection rate is really high, so it means that like very small percentage of human feedback is needed right now. We can like more automate it and just remove the human feedback from this, or just to make it used more rarely. So like if it was before like per day, once per day, it can be like once per month. And productize, the last stage. So the workflow becomes a reusable feature, internal tool, or customer offering. So after like the product is built like from the end to end, we can just release it. What the AI workflow actually looks like. So like there is just a short summary like how the AI system built inside. So we have a business input. We can have email, ticket, CRM, docs, and meetings. We have a context layer. So this context layer can be based on knowledge base. It can be based on some external documents. It can be also based on user interaction in the system. Large language model task. So I mentioned like 6 different options. So there are like some more different options that we can use, and we need to choose one of them. So it also means that one model does only one thing. So it's not a good idea to have one model for 6 different tasks. And the workflow output. So how the output should look like? It can be reply, it can be report, it can be the created task, it can be the alert, it can be also the trigger, like cron trigger, and it also can be the proposal. So common risk. At the beginning, I mentioned that like I like more deterministic way if it is possible. So if there is a possibility to do something in a deterministic way, just like hard coded, it's much more better to make it hard coded. Why? First of all, this system is very predictable. This system is very stable. So it means that you will, if you will send like the same request like 3 times and 4 times, you will get the same like the same answer. Third one, you can follow, like this system is easy to debug. So if there is some problem, it's not like in black box. You can see what is the problem exactly and fix it. The first one, it's like the working of the system depends like on your capabilities, not on capabilities of some like random APIs. For example, if you're talking about OpenAI API, it's like if it's not working, we can do nothing with this. It's just not working and we need to wait. So hallucinations. Hallucinations is a situation when the model generates the answer based not on info that it has. For example, we have like the retrieval augmentation generation system, and we have the knowledge base inside, and model starts to answer some random things that are not related to this knowledge base. So it is a hallucinations, and it is very common problem right now that like even if the model right now are very smart, they're very capable, this problem like I met very often. Data exposure. So we need to control permissions. We need to control what data go to training, because if you use open source models, all data that you provide to it will be used in training. So if you provide some sensitive data, it's not okay. So we need like to follow this. Inconsistent quality. So as I mentioned, like we need to have a guard rails to like follow what a model generates. So not only about hallucinations, but also that the policy of generating answers are related to your product. So we need to use templates, examples, test sets, and scoring criteria. And the last stage, I think one of the most important ones, workflow drift. So we need to monitor outputs even the product is released. So we need always like to check the logs, to check the accuracy, like precision, and check that like the model works okay. Because sometimes if we do not check it and we don't do anything to retrain our model, it can generate like wrong answer just because like the time goes, the context changes, and like it's just not actual. Also like correct feedback, of course, and update prompt and processes. So there is like execution plan. These like numbers I think are not relatable right now, just because like it's some like very old researches I found how like AI system built like before. So we have 30, 60, and 90 days. Right now, I think we can do it much more faster, especially to first stages. So we have 30 days for find the workflow. So we need to find the repetitive work that can be automated. We need to choose the KPI metrics. So it can be accuracy, it can be precision, it can be deflection rate, and so on. We need to define the criteria of success also for the project and prepare test data, of course. So the second stage, 60 days, we need to build a small workflow like MVP that will be released for like small group of people, and different like methods of testing can be used. For example, A/B testing to collect feedback, just to see like how the model works, what exactly user wants from the system, and this information is very useful in the next iterations. And the last stage is 90 days. So like scale or stop. At some moment when we monitor the system, we need to decide if we want to stop the process of training, or we want like to scale it one more time to make new iterations, to add some new data, and maybe to make our model like working better. So there is like a decision rule. If the KPI doesn't move, for example, if the accuracy doesn't move, it's like has a 95% percentage, and it's not made like higher, we need to stop it. So not scaling. So there is a key takeaways. And that's all. Thank you for your attention. Maybe you have some questions.
Thank you, Sophia, for your presentation. You can raise a hand and ask a question, or you can write it in our chat and we will read it out if any questions. I personally have one question, like which of the LLM use cases you think will be like actual in a year, in 2 years, out of like 4 cases you've mentioned?
I think it's product engineering in internal operations, because as I think right now, customer support is not like very popular, because like I think like every product right now uses it. So like online shopping uses customer supported site. Some services of consulting also uses. So there is no like some like new things that we can make inside. But if you're talking about internal operations and product engineering, I think first of all like technologies that we use right now, for example, Cloud CLI, or some like MCP tools, they will be in use like in 1 year, in 2 years, as I think, of course, just because it's like very speed up the work. And honestly, for now, I don't know how we can replace this. So I think like it will be in use like in 1 year also.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. You've also mentioned that successful use cases, let's say. In your practice, were there any cases where LLM failed or there was some reason for this failure?
Like I have a lot of situation when large language models generated are not desired as I want. So I think I worked more with like training of models, because right now like I don't train any model because there is no like a need to make it. But when I train it by myself, it was a problem with preparation of data, and it was because like I was training, and at the end I realized that like it doesn't become like better. The answer is not like more desirable as I want to see. So the fail like not a correct way of collecting data, of preparation of prepared data, and so on. So I think like this problem is also like right now like in use, because we can prepare data not only for like training our own model, but as I mentioned, we can have retrieval augmentation generation system with like our own knowledge base. And for this, we also need to prepare some data. And I think like it is very crucial when we're talking about like building our own systems to make our data looks nice from the start.
Okay, thank you. Leslie has a question. Sophia, can you see it in a chat box, or should I read it loud for you?
I will read it.
Okay.
Trying to understand why we wouldn't start with Copilot, for example, and start there. Maybe building and adding a marketing agent, would this not work just as well? Okay, sorry, I didn't get the question. So trying to understand why we wouldn't start with Copilot, for example. Maybe building and adding. Yes, Leslie, maybe you can like clarify.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to talk to the question. You know, we've got Copilot, and we're looking at, and we use you know, from Claude and ChatGPT and everything else. We're looking at building agents that sit alongside Copilot and within Copilot. And I'm just trying to understand why I would need to make it more complicated than that for a small organization.
Of course, you cannot. So as I mentioned, like right now, we don't need like to create some like custom models, some custom agents, just because modern agents like works really good. And as I mentioned, for example, like Copilot or Clouder or like GPT models can do the things that they couldn't do, like for example, 1 year ago. And 1 year ago, we built our custom agents for it. For example, for marketing, we built like the agent with knowledge base about sales, about marketing, and so on. Now there is no need in it, just because training data in this model is like really big, is really wide, and like every time it is improving, and because of this fact, there is no need like to train like to creating like the custom agents, especially for small organizations, because like creating the new agent, first of all, it's like takes a time. The second one, it takes money, and I think like for small organization, it's much more better to to start as fast as possible with like already ready models and agents.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's just feeling that this is like a very big solution rather than something that helps a team of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people.
Yes, of course. Like as I think, like right now, when like models are so capable, like there is no any need, and also like you can add some tools to model if it's not like enough the like knowledge base it has. So there is like a lot of like a plenty of different MCP tools that you can add, and like it will be much more smarter and doing like some interesting things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? No more questions. Great. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and hopefully to see you on our next sessions. Have a good day, evening, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.